Apparently, John Montagu, the fourth Earl of Sandwich, made popular the sandwich. He was a notorious gambler who was playing cards one night and really didn't want to leave the table, so he ordered for roast beef to be come to him in between two slices of bread. The sandwich, which is what we have now so often. The two pieces of bread with the meat in the middle, and it all comes together in this one package. Why a sandwich? Well, the gospel writer Mark uses sandwiches in his writing as a style. You've got two events similar, where the middle event is linked to the two and helps explain what's gone on before and what's gone after, because sometimes it can be confusing. And that is actually what's happening in this passage, because there's an interesting, confusing few verses about a fig tree. In Mark chapter 11, verse 12, it says, "The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, 'May no one ever eat fruit from you again.' And his disciples heard him say it." Now, that is weird. He basically investigates this fig tree to see if there's any fruits, any buds now that it's in leaf season, and he sees that there's none. It's bearing no fruit. So he says, "May you never have fruit again." What's going on? That's the bread, the top half of the sandwich. The bottom half of the bread we see in verses 20 and 21. Verse 20, "In the morning as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, 'Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered.'" So Jesus has cursed this fig tree. Why? What's going on? Well, this is where the middle helps explain this cursing of the fig tree. And it all comes together. In the middle, we see Jesus visiting the temple. Now, the temple was a special place of God where God dwelt, where sacrifices were made, where prayers were offered. And look what Jesus finds at the temple in the middle, verse 15. "On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, 'Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? But you have made it a den of robbers.'" See, they had treated the temple terribly. They were dishonoring God with all their actions, and Jesus was rebuking them, judging them, turning over the tables. You see, the fig tree, we realize the fig tree is symbolic of Israel, of the Jewish people. It was an Old Testament reference to Israel as well. And just as the fig tree was bearing no fruit, and so Jesus cursed it, judged it, so the Jewish people, the Israelites at the temple, they clearly weren't bearing fruit. And spiritually, they were dishonoring God, and that's clearly seen in their actions in the temple. They've treated God's special place as a den of robbers for their own selfish gains. And so Jesus rebukes and judges them, just as he did the fig tree. So what lessons do we learn from this, from the fig tree? Well, we firstly got to realize that God judges. Jesus judges. They were dishonoring God. And he is a good God and a just God, and he must judge. He must punish wrongdoing. Even ourselves as humans, deep down, we have a sense of justice. We want justice. Wrongdoing punished. And God's a good God who must judge and punish wrongdoing. Second thing we need to ask ourselves in learning the lesson is, though, are we any better than the people in the temple? Would we be similar? Do we dishonor God in our actions, maybe living for our selfish motives? Maybe in this time of crisis is a time for us to reflect. Do I do that? We may even go to the religious places like they were doing. but we're not bearing fruit. What do I mean by that? We're not alive to God. We don't love him and want to serve him. We're not bearing spiritual fruit. And if that's the case, we deserve to be judged. But the third thing we realize is the good news. Jesus came for that purpose. He came to be judged, to be cursed in our place. And he did that by going to a different tree, by hanging on the tree at the cross. He was taking our judgment. He was taking the curse, the punishment that we deserve through how we have dishonored him. That's the good news. So we're to learn the lesson from the fig tree. Have we done the same? We need to ask ourselves the question, am I bearing fruit, alive to God, loving him? And have I obtained the benefits of Christ being cursed on the cross in my place so that I can know him, be forgiven, and God willing, bear spiritual fruit going forward? Let's learn the lesson from the fig tree.